Okay. All right, so to a 7-year-old today, highlighting in a text and annotating via Post-it notes kind of feels like listening to a vinyl record to me. While it has a purpose, is it always relevant? So as a little girl, I grew up in a childhood where my parents struggled through life's obstacles. And my mom, she struggled in school her whole entire life. My dad dropped out when they found out they were expecting me. And this little face looked up to my 2nd grade teacher and said, you know what, I want to learn to read because school was very difficult for me, but it was my safe place. And she tutored me every day when I got off the bus for about 20 minutes. And I learned to read that year. I learned a lot of things. And sometimes I think you just need one person to believe in you. And I've never struggled in school since. So how does it look to connect to text in the 21st century? Well, I know what it looks like to connect in the 21st century. That would be Snapchat. I have a 15-year-old son who absolutely lives on Snapchat. In fact, so much so that I didn't think it was humanly possible to spend that much time on it. And so this is kind of what he looks like walking around my house and everywhere he goes. And he sometimes turns the camera at me when I'm doing some awesome dance moves, right? And I was like, that app is driving me absolutely bonkers. We've got to get it off his phone. But I decided, no, I want to use this for edu-awesomeness. So I said, Caleb, come downstairs and teach mom how to use Snapchat. And he was like, what? No, but he did. And I made my first book snap of many book snaps. And I started to remember not only the content, but what page it was on and what chapter. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is fantastic. And I started to think about this is working with the literacy neuroscience that I learned in undergraduate school. When all these phonological processors are firing as intended, an image appears in your mind. And now we're going to engage the right hemisphere of our brain, and we're going to recreate that image. This is fantastic. It's drawing that into your long-term memory. And it was just a cool idea that was hidden in my blog. By the way, thank you, George Quiros, for getting me connected and starting my website. But this man right here, Dave Burgess, the New York Times bestselling author of Teach Like a Pirate, said, would you guest post on my blog? And I was like, what? Are you kidding me? Like, no, I just started my own website. And he's like, no, it's great. I want to get more eyes on this idea, this strategy. It's really neat. And here we have professionals across the world in 9 different countries now. This started in August of 2016. And now there's people using BookSnaps all over the place and teachers connecting in a way that works for them. We even have a culinary teacher in Oregon who uses hashtag food snaps, Tisha Richmond. And we have math snaps and science snaps. And everybody's finding a way to connect to their content using this cool app that kids love. And so the littles, sometimes they were having Snapchat blocked in their schools, and they have started making book snaps with Seesaw and many different apps and making these personal connections. So this past year in May, I issued a book snaps challenge to any kids who wanted to put a book snap on Twitter with a certain hashtag. And I thought, well, if they win, they can guest post on my blog. And they loved it. It was great. There were like 500 book snaps every single week. But the coolest part about this book snaps movement is I get these emails all the time. And this one just tore at my heart. So I want to tell you this story. So this teacher, 8th grade English teacher, sent me an email and said, I want to tell you a story. I'm not going to use names, but I want to tell you a story about a little boy. He's an only child, precious, straight A student, kind-hearted. He started uploading his book snaps to the novel that they were reading. And she noticed his heart was broken and he was using the Bitmoji that was very sad and dark. And so she pulled him aside because his book snaps looked different than the rest of the students. And she said, is everything okay? And he broke down crying. He said, no, actually, it's not okay. And he told her that he had just felt really worthless. And he started telling her how he was even considering ending his own life. That is not something I ever thought book snaps would reveal to a teacher. But you know what? She used a language that he spoke, and she listened when he put that book snap out there that his heart was crying out. He needed help. You know, I've checked on this kid and I've talked to his parents since then, and he's doing fantastic. But the truth is, students across the world are using this strategy with a language that they love to make connections to text. There needs not be a rubric. That's not necessary. Just connect. So if we fear technology for what students might do so we don't use it, that's crazy. Why don't we just teach them the potential positive awesomeness of social media? So BookSnaps would be a great start for you and your students. Thank you.